Hi, I'm Stu Harrison, and I'm here at Merriam Pianos in Toronto, Canada. And today we're looking at Kawai's GX2 Professional Grand Piano. This instrument is a 5'11" professional grand piano designed for high-level home use, institutional use. We've seen these go into churches. Even recording studios are making very, very good use of this instrument. It's the evolution of the RX2 grand piano, which was Kawai's previous 5'10" piano. The GX2 has advanced on that design in several areas, and we're going to be touching on all of the areas in which they've advanced the piano today, and just talking about general musical impressions. The RX2 was a piano that made a lot of headway for Kawai in terms of the institutional market. It gave the Yamaha's C-Series a serious run for its money. There were a lot of situations where those pianos were outperforming a lot of other instruments, even $5,000, $10,000 above their price point. And the RX2 particularly got a lot of became really, really well known because of the value and the performance it was delivering for its price point. So that's where the GX2 picks up on. Now, this instrument just got released last year in 2014, and my initial impressions of this piano, to be honest, were a little bit mixed. When I first got it from the factory, the way that they were initially prepping it, I felt that the RX2 actually is delivering a clearer sound than the GX2, and I was a little bit confused as to what the improvement had been. Well, having lived now with the instrument for about 6 months, played around with a couple of different methods of preparation, we've got the instrument definitely outperforming the RX2 and turned into just an absolute powerhouse of a piano. And to be honest, all it took was a tiny little tweak to the voicing and a little bit of regulation, and this piano has absolutely launched itself as a total performance instrument. Now, some of the things that Kawai has improved on the GX2 over the RX2 has been the action. They've improved the quality of the hammer that they put on the piano. They've increased the tapering on the soundboard a little bit, and they've also changed the rim composition of the piano as well. All of these things have had an impact and an effect on the overall performance and playability of the piano, and I'm going to go through them one at a time. But first, before we even start talking about the action, let me pull it out here so we can actually see what we're talking about. Okay, so now we've got our action out. The GX2 is using Kawai's new Millennium 3 Ninja action. Now, this is an advance over the previous Millennium 3 action in that the geometry of the repetition has changed slightly, but the most significant advance in this instrument really has been the length of the keys. Now, if we pull out earlier versions of the Millennium 3 Grand action, particularly for pianos in the 5'10", 6-foot range, what you're going to notice is the distance from the front of the key to the balance rail and then the balance rail to the capstand is shorter. In fact, quite a bit shorter. We're talking about between 1 inch to 2 inches of length that they've added to this piano in order to improve the dynamic control, improve the potential power of the instrument, and to get the instrument behaving a little bit more like a 6.5 or 7-foot piano. So one of the objectives of the new GX series has been to unify or make the playing experience between any of the GX models a little more common, so there isn't this big step between playing a 5'11" to a 7-foot to a concert grand. You're still going to feel some differences, but those differences have definitely been minimized by that increase in length, and that's of course what we're seeing right here. Now, while we've got this out, there's also been an improvement in the type of hammer that Kawai's using. They've gone to a mahogany core, they've gone to a double felted hammer, and once we've got these voiced just right, the instrument now has an incredible amount of complexity, but at the same time still maintains that nice warmth and clarity that you'd expect out of the RX. So the GX is now delivering a much more concert-like experience on the action. The touch of the instrument is behaving far more like a 7-footer than you would expect. And with the right voicing, these hammers are delivering a great deal of range and complexity and tonal dynamicism that just makes this such a treat to play. So I'm going to put the action back in and we'll move on to something else. Let's move on to the bridge and the soundboard of the piano. The GX2 maintains its vertically laminated bridges, which is something that the RX also introduced. This is a feature that is found on most high-end grands, but it's very unusual to find this feature on grands down in the $25,000, $20,000, $15,000 range. So what the vertically laminated bridge does for a piano like the GX2 is it essentially gives the frequency or the vibrational energy that's in the string several different types of wood to pass through on its way down to the soundboard. So if you can imagine the bridge essentially being a highway that is what the sound travels along between the strings and the soundboard. And it does a lot of filtering, if you can sort of think of it like that, if you don't have all of the frequencies really traveling up and down wood grain that's optimized for those frequencies. So by vertically laminating the bridge, you're essentially giving a mahogany pathway, a maple pathway, a hornbeam pathway, all these different types of hardwood that all have different fiber lengths and different characteristics to it. You're giving those, the vibrational energy, these different channels to go down, and what it does is it really reduces or completely eliminates any coloring or filtering that that bridge is going to do to the sound of the string, and it gets it right down to the soundboard. The GX2 has a brilliantly designed vertically laminated bridge, and it really helps in getting the clarity and getting the full spectrum of the tone from the string right down to the soundboard. Talking about the soundboard, they're still using premium Sitka solid spruce for the soundboard, but they've increased and they've improved the tapering on it. So what this does is it also has increased the sustain and the dynamicism of the soundboard as well. So what this means is when you play a note and you're just going to let that note ring on, the length of time it rings on is what we refer to as sustain. So it's pretty good. Anybody who's had the pleasure of playing a piano such as a really well-prepared Bösendorfer or Fazioli or Steinway, or even something like Mason and Hamlin or Shigeru Kawai, will know exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about great sustain, because you play a note and a minute later it's still hanging out there. It's just not something you're used to when you grew up playing $5,000 uprights or $10,000, $15,000 grands. The GX2 has a remarkable sustain for its price point, and it makes playing classical as well as contemporary music very enjoyable. The sound, you just have more sound to work with. It stays around longer. And so when you've got the bridge delivering a broader spectrum of those frequencies down to the soundboard, and then you've got a soundboard which is responding to those frequencies that much more, you've got this purring engine that's just waiting there to do anything you tell it to do. So coupled with the fact that you've got the action up here, which is delivering a greater level of control and potential power, this really is a 700-pound sports car just sitting at the start line waiting for you to do something exciting with it. The final thing that they've improved on this instrument, and I know this was something that took a little while to talk about and figure out how we were going to present this to our customers, because we were a little concerned it would be so esoteric that no one would really understand its significance. But it's turned out that people have really responded well to the information. So I'm going to share it again with you today. The RX used a Matoa rim, and Matoa is a type of mahogany, very dense, and the rim is essentially the main structure of the piano. That's what everything is bolted to. So the frame, the soundboard, all of these critical components are connected to the rim, and the rim is the about 1 foot tall bent curve that goes all the way around the piano. It looks like it's almost just an aesthetic feature of the piano, but in fact this is really the skeleton of the instrument. Matoa that was on the RX was a very dense, very warm wood, and it gave a specific tone. Guitar makers and violin players will know this very well. When you change the wood, you're really changing the character of the sound. On the GX, what they've done is they have now introduced hard rock maple to the rim. And hard rock maple is known as a wood that reflects back and responds to higher level frequencies than Matoa does. So the combination of now adding more maple into the rim, which is also a little bit sturdier, the soundboard, which is a little more responsive, the bridge, which is delivering a higher range of frequency, and you've got an action, which is now giving you the tools to control that instrument at a higher level than it was before. This really spells one thing: a very satisfying piano to play. And the GX2 has certainly been that, and it's turning into one of the perennial favorites here at Merriam Pianos. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Again, my name is Stu Harrison, and we've been talking about the Kawai GX2 5'11" professional grand piano.